Right, hello and welcome to part 2 of the Dyson DC03 video, where we were showing how to disassemble the machine. I'm surrounded now by parts from that machine. As you can see, the floor heads here and the base plate and the motor cover and the filters and everything else. There's the clutch there, so we've well and truly got the DC03 stripped down. It's here now, and we are about to refit the motor into the machine. So without further ado, I shall focus down and we will recommence with the job. Okie dokie. So here, as I showed in the last part of the video, is the DC03's motor, which is a very tiny, we want YV 920. Okay, there it is. That's what's in the DC03, and if I was able to, I would remove the carbon brushes here just to check the brush length on them, but if I did, there's actually one of the very delicate winding wires going from here leading into the brush, so removing that would liable to maybe snap that wire, so I'm not going to do it. I would just assume by looking at that that motor's in reasonably good condition. There's no need really to remove those carbons. I'd imagine there's plenty of life left in there. If they do go, you know, it looks like, you know, in the last video the floor plate broke on the actual pivot hinge. The plastic snapped off. So if it can't be repaired, I'll probably be looking for another DC03 anyway, to be honest. But let's put this back together, because it helps anybody with their own DC03. So what we're going to do, first of all, we are going to rejoin the cables. So we remember now that white went to blue. They've got these rubber covers on, which makes them a little bit more awkward. It might make it easier if I can slide the rubber covers back to start with, so that I can get those on. They're a little bit fiddly, these. Sticky rubber on them. Yeah, there we go. That's that one. And now we need to do the same. Slide the cover back, put the black wire back on, and then slide the cover back over. That's absolutely wonderful. Right, now we can put our fan case seal back on. Isn't that tiny? That is the smallest fan case seal I think I've ever seen. I wonder if the motor in the light ball is as small as that, because the light ball's rated at 700 watts as well, but it has considerably more power than this one does. And that really is a miniature motor. So that would have presumably gone in. I'm thinking now which way around the motor went back in. I don't think it really matters too much, does it? As long as that that goes in that way. What we've got here is we've got a that is the fixing on the top of the motor. That's the way the end plate goes back on, with the castellated top facing upwards towards the top of the machine, and that actually just slide back up into here, and it's just being a little bit awkward because the rubber on the end of here is providing a bit of resistance. But there we go, it's gone in now. Look, the motor's gone back into where it's supposed to be. So push that up nice and firm, and that's lovely. From that point then, I can put my motor cover back on the bottom, and that is here. So that's the back. We slide the motor cover. Back on like that, making sure that we aren't trapping any wires like this. Push the wire back up inside the cover. There we go. Now we can put some of these screws back in, so I'll put the first one back in the top there. And then I'll put the diagonally opposite one in this side. Down. That's that. Another one in there. This is where having that electric screwdriver would be helpful. Is that all four of them on that level? Yep, there is. I think we had one in there, one in here, and one back in there. So what on the face of it looked like quite a complicated machine when I first saw one, actually isn't that complicated after all. Once you work out how all the air paths go on it, and getting the motor off actually isn't too much trouble at all. Right, that's all the screws. I'm just going to put this inspection port back on the top of the handle. Again, yeah, well basically this inspection port here, I took off the top of here just to have a look at that air path inside. There's no blockages in there, it's all clear, so again, you can see the little stress mark on there, where that has been stressed when I've pushed it in to unclip that, so that's how brittle the ABS is on this machine. Very brittle indeed. That actually forms part of the cable clamp as well, by the looks of things. There we go. One screw here. Where's that one come from? One small screw. I've no doubt I'll find that eventually. I think I've got all the screws back in, haven't I, in the bottom? Yeah, I have. It's odd when you get a screw appear from nowhere and you think, where's that one come from? And it is a Torx as well, so I'd imagine it's off this machine. I've no doubt that'll come to light in due course. It'll show where it came from. How is my floor head doing? So, what we're going to do, turn it over, make sure we can see what we're doing. So what I might have to do is bring it a little bit further towards this way. This is where I'm very concerned now about this here, that I've had to try and araldite back on because that's snapped off. Is that going to hold? That is going to be the big question. Is that going to hold? So I'm just going to have to be ultra gentle how I put this back on here. And I mean really ultra gentle about it, because it might not be fully hardened yet. So yeah. How on earth? Ah, right, okay. Yeah, it's got to be the other way around, that's why. It's got to be that way around that this goes back in. So this goes on that side first, and then I'm going to have to put that side on after. Okay. Like that. So that's held at the moment, but I don't know how strong and secure that's going to be in the future. What it is, it's that there. Where that araldite is, this top here sheared off, it's snapped off there and it's snapped off across there. So that is a weak point on that pivot hinge. That's only very thin plastic. So I've had to put some araldite in there and hope that that holds, but I doubt that it will over the time, so we'll just have to see. I mean, araldite's pretty strong stuff. Right, okay. So let's push our clutch back in. Here's the clutch. You see that on there? It's got the knob still on because I didn't take it off. So that basically is going to slide down into the clutch housing there. Or should I should have done this when it was actually off the machine. Bugger it. I have to swear there, but I'm a little bit annoyed about that. You know, I'm not. It's gone in. Don't worry. It'll go. Now I'll get the motor belt back on the spindle. That is so fragile on that there. I don't know how these lasted so long with such a fragile joint as that. Crazy. What am I going to do now? I'm going to put the brush roll. I'm a little bit disappointed about that snapping, to be honest with you. Let's put the clutch cover back on it, and that should clamp down on it a bit, shouldn't it? Yes, it does actually. Yeah, so it doesn't actually hold on solely by that. That's why I never noticed this before, because when the clutch cover goes back on, that goes back on, and that'll, yeah, okay. That gives it an extra level of security onto that joint then, I see. Right, so we're going to put our belt through, slide the clutch cover down, and this is going to go on in a certain way as well. Just got to take my time with this because I don't want to go forcing things. That's it. That's it. That's gone down really nicely now, that has. One and two screws back in. Well, over tightening it slightly bit there, and you heard that little tiny crack. So you know it really is. Don't tell me now that I'm going to have to take that off again. How does that go back on? I'm assuming that goes into that gap there. Yes, it does. And now, ah yes, that's where that last screw came from. Yeah, it came out of the back of the clutch housing. So let's put that back in. Excellent. Right, now we can put the brush roll in, can't we? So, in the same fashion that I took it off, it's actually quite clean in the ends. There we go. Let's slide the belt into it. And I twisted the belt round now, I don't want to be doing that. It's not Hoover C, you know, it doesn't have to have twists in it. That's better. Right, now I can put the bearing back in. The end cap. I keep calling it the bearing. The bearings are already in the brush roll. This is the axle. It's going to go through the middle. So I'm going to put this end in first. Slide it all the way down. Yeah, that's right. So that will go in there. These only go in one way as well, so you've got to have the sort of the smile that from the smiley face facing downwards by the looks of things. I'm going to put that in and then press that down into the case like that, and then I will make sure that this belt will turn. At this point now, what I did last time was to turn it on, so I'm going to do that again. I'll just get the plug. Yeah, that's fine. It's working lovely, that. What are we doing now? We're going to put the back wheels on it now, aren't we? So, just check that that's in view. It is. So I'm going to get the wheel axle, which is here. Slide that in from the back. And it comes through, or it's supposed to come through, that hole there, pushes right the way through, and there's oil all over there, because the last time I had this to pieces I greased those. Let's get tissue for me oily hands. Right. Nothing worse. Slide the circlip out of the wheel, back on its axle. This is where I've got to be really careful now, because these can be a little bit of a bugger to get on. I need my pliers. That's it. Circle it back on. So on these, yeah, it looks like you do have to remove the wheel, push the axle back in order to get the clutch cover off, and you have to get the clutch cover off to be able to get the floor plate off the motor housing. But in theory, I don't think, or would you? Whether you'd actually have to take the base plate off to do the motor, actually. It might be possible just to do the 8 screws and lower that off without even to take any of this off, but we've done it now. We've done it by taking the floor plate off. Put the glamour cap, as they call it, back on the wheel. There we go. And now I will put the sole plate back on. I've got the sole plate here. Slide that in. That in. I don't know what that is. that was an old circlip. It's chewed up. I don't know where that's come from. I think that came out of my bag of filth the other day on the carpet. Back to the lock. That one back to the lock position. That one back to the lock position. And that's it, isn't it? The only parts I've got left over there now are the ancillaries and the filters. That's okay then. So let's stand them up like that. I think we need to angle the camera up again now, don't we? Yeah. Make sure it's a bit straighter. That's it. So we'll get the hose back and the filters and everything else that will go on the side. Again, that's it. Yeah, that's not been too bad actually. That's actually a very, very easy machine to work on, the DC03. Quite impressed. So we'll get our HEPA filter, which is for the exhaust. It's looking a bit crumpled now because it's probably the original one from when it was new. We'll put that in into the bottom. That lowers down like so. Pre-motor filter will go. I don't think you can probably see what I'm doing. I'm basically putting the filters back on now. Lock that into position. And turn it round. So that's it. Then I'm just going to put the 3 tools back on. And again, you can't see me doing this, but all I'm doing is putting the tools back in the rack. So we'll put the crevice tool on. Oh, that has to go on the front, hasn't it? The dusting brush on the back. And the upholstery tool will go in its little slot there as well. Absolutely wonderful. So we can put the hose and blockage port back on. And basically that is just going to be going, slot that back into the bottom, pull it up and push the yellow tab back to lock the hose in. And now I'll put my handle back on. Just here. And we can put the dustbin back on the side. So that'll go back on like so. Put it down upon the floor, and then I can plug it in and test it. I think we've got everything now. Okay. Check the camera. Yeah, I think just about see that, can't you? On the floor there. So let me just check how much time I've got left on the camera. Another 5 minutes, yeah, okay, that's fine. It's always good just to give it a quick test afterwards, isn't it? Doesn't work. I have to switch the socket on in the other room. So, there we go. That's the DC03. That wasn't too bad at all to get the motor out of, was it? That's only the second time I've ever done that. So I'll just put it back up on the top and we'll wind the cable in. But again, just another quick reminder there is that with these machines being, some of them now 20 odd years old, this ABS plastic is so brittle, it is unbelievable in places. And it broke off the bottom of here on there, so you know, if you're taking these things apart, you really have got to be so careful with your screwdriver when you're prying things. When you're prying things that are very weak, it's just so easy to snap that plastic off. So there we go. I don't know what the next technical video I'll be doing is. It might be a DC07. I might not be doing another one till maybe, I don't know, next weekend, but I'm not sure. See how it goes. Might do one in the week. It's 4 videos I've had on today, so I think that'll be enough for the next for this weekend now. And that's it. The DC03 lives to fight another day. Looks silly with that green thing on the top, doesn't it? Never mind. It's not too bad for 20 years old, as long as we treat it with a bit of respect. There'll be no more big mess tests for this. It's not really fair to put a machine of this age through that. Although I'd put my 1981 Kirby through it, I'd do that. That's an idea. And do a big mess test on the Kirby Heritage maybe. Right, okay, until next time then, I'll see you again.